Given that tomorrow is election day, and it's November 5th, some people have heard of remember the 5th of November, but I've done a video on my other channel before it was taken down about this. But for those that don't know, what this whole, because this is the whole poem, this is the whole thing. This was written after some Catholics tried to kill King James I. King James I is the same King James that was King James VI of Scotland. And he's also the same King James that had the Bible translated to then go on to be the King James Version. Donald Trump is a direct lineage to King James VI of Scotland, and King James VI was the first king of England. So, do you understand why then Donald Trump put the Declaration of Independence, the Bill of Rights, the Constitution in the King James Bible? So, I've said before, I don't think the first king of England, I don't think he was so bad. There was differences in agreement on things. The second king of England was, well, he was part of the papacy. He was a papacy. But getting to this, the reason this was written is because King James I he was a Protestant, and he saw the Anglican, well, that's the Church of England, but the Catholic trying to come into power, trying to get into the kingships, wanting to get into power, the hierarchy of the Catholic Church. So he had said that he would enact, which is something that's in the Old Testament, the divine right of kings, which means no one can hold the king accountable except for God. Now, you may think, oh, that's not fair, but that means they better be doing right, and some don't, right? But I think King James I was, I think he was, because he actually ended up, I mean, they liked King James I. So I think that he pissed some people off, though, when he said, I will enact the divine right of kings, which meant nobody can hold me accountable except God. Now, on the surface, that seems tyrannical. But if it's a king, because you got to think way back then, they were following the Bible way more than we do today. At least many were trying to. And then you had your power ones trying to come in and be tyrannical. And King James I was trying to keep the Catholic hierarchy at bay. And so when he told them that, because the Pilgrims, King James I, I've said this before, his only issue with the Geneva Bible, which is what the Pilgrims brought, it's the same as the King James Version, it's just King James Version is easier to read, is that they put in there that all kings are tyrants, and they're not. So that was a legit thing for him to say. So in the Bible, many of the kings are appointed by God. So if it's a king that's trying to do the right thing and sees some people trying to get into power and not for good reasons, then to keep the integrity of the kingship, which it fell after King James I, but you would want to tell the people that are trying to get in to your, kingship that no, I'll enact the divine right of kings, which pissed the Catholics off. So what they did was they got barrels and barrels of gunpowder, put it in the basement under Parliament, and they planned on blowing up all of Parliament when King James I went to give an address there, which happened to be on November 5th, which then led to this. Remember the 5th of November, the gunpowder treason and plot. I see no reason why gunpowder treason should ever be forgot. Guy Fawkes, 'twas his intent to blow up king and parliament. 70 barrels were laid below to prove old England's overthrow. By God's mercy he was catched with a dark lantern and lighted match. Holler boys, let the bells ring. Holler boys, God save the king. This is all in relation to King James I, because somebody got word to him that they were going to do this. And so he went in and caught them, and then, well, he executed them all. He hunted them, the ones that were involved that weren't down in the basement. He found them, executed them too. Because you just don't go executing a king. You don't do it to anybody. But so I think the way it's been made out to us is that King James was this tyrant, and he wasn't trying to be. Like, I don't think he had any issue with, I mean, I could be wrong. I try to see it from both sides, but the Pilgrims clearly were mature enough, and they brought the Holy Spirit into the church. And when they came here, that's what they brought. I mean, God clearly, helped them through their voyages, especially the Mayflower in particular, with the miracles that went on that ship. And so many of them died. So they felt ready to no longer need a king. Not that they didn't need a king. They felt that we can have Jesus as our king. We feel strong enough for that. I don't know that King James had issue with that. I think the Catholics did, though. I think the Anglican Church did. Because it seems like they were the people trying to get in control of the kingship, if that makes sense. So just try to understand this for a minute. This was going to happen to King James I, who is related genealogy to Donald Trump, and our elections are held on November 5th. Okay? So, that's a lot of coincidences.